would consider Next League program an expert and maybe even cutting edge in their approach to the EB1A process. And if you don't understand the legal aspect, you can go back to the Next League program is all about, is you get that coaching to help. If a person is spending $20,000 for fake credentials, they could be using that money much more wisely and go down a more professional path. Your dreams are worth that investment.
We will forge a society that is colorblind and merit-based.
Celebrating our EB1A achievers, a legacy of excellence. We celebrate the incredible success of our EB1A achievers, whose unmatched talent and dedication have set new standards of excellence. We honor 45-plus trailblazers from the Next League program, whose contributions inspire communities and strengthen the nation. Below are the inspiring profiles of these extraordinary individuals as of March 31st, 2025. Let us applaud their remarkable journeys and the impact they are making on the world. Some of the profiles follows.
Hi, Tom. How are you today?
Hello, I am well, Ranjit. Thank you for having me today in this podcast.
Wonderful. And it's always wonderful to have experts like you. It's a great honor and privilege, Tom. There are thousands of people who are EB1A aspirants, who are immigrants to the USA. They would be listening to right now. So would you introduce yourself for the benefit of everybody, Tom?
My name is Tom Mitchell. I am a former immigration services officer with United States Citizenship and Immigration Bureau, and recently moved on from working with them to pursue other endeavors. I have been involved with studies and with immigration, citizenship, migration dating back to 2013. I am U.S. State Department Gilman alumni ambassador and scholar, and I worked extensively with a lot of different types of students in obtaining study abroad or visas and so forth to broaden their knowledge on U.S. education, U.S. business practices, the International Visitors Lead Program with the State Department, and a plethora of other documented fields in the academic area, mental health area. I have quite an extensive background, even some work in marketing. Over my career, I have had a lot of exposure to global enterprises and how to do business properly and with the use of understanding culture.
Wonderful, Tom. I think it's a very, very illustrious background. And as you are aware, we are Next League Executive Board LLC. We are approved by Arizona Supreme Court as integrated coaching company and offering legal services for EB1A green card. The whole mission of our company is to attract talented individuals for the benefit of United States. We try to groom them, we coach them, and we help them become EB1A ready, and we help some of the people to file also, since we are a law firm. Now, Tom, you have spent so much time with USCIS. How would USCIS look at EB1A, and what is the purpose of it from your perspective?
EB1A is a very interesting topic with USCIS, and with the current administration, it is changing. As it was announced early on that they wanted to do the $5 million gold card, which will be a work in progress. But what you said about EB1A attracting professionals to the United States to work in some of the top industries in IT and the medical field are just a couple of where there's a great need. And it's been made very public by this administration that they don't feel like there's enough qualified people in the United States. So the EB1A program is very important for overseas professionals who want to come to the United States and work. and earn those top salaries and move forward in establishing a good life for themselves.
Wonderful. That's very fascinating. Now, we know that there are certain criterias made for EB1A, and people try to fit themselves into the criteria. But from the next league perspective, we always tell people that you don't have to fit yourself into criteria. We have seen people getting $1 million salaries. There are people who get even 8 criteria approved and still get rejected. From our perspective, you truly have to be extraordinary in your own right. And we always tell in a coaching program that there are 3 components why USCIS will select you. Number 1, you have to be an expert at an international level. Number 2 is your expertise has to be benefited to the USA. And number 3 is you should continue in the field of endeavor. And only when there has to be a prospective benefit to the US, essentially. There are millions of people wanting green cards. There's another category called EB2. There are millions of people waiting for that. And this just puts you in the top of the queue. You have been an adjudicator. From your perspective, how does USCIS also objectively evaluates the applicant's contribution to the United States or in his field of endeavor, apart from the criteria?
Yeah. When we start adjudicating EB1A cases, there are basically 10 criteria. However, an applicant only has to qualify for 3 of them. It's not like they have to have 10 of 10. That is one of the biggest misconceptions. And I've seen posts on social media networks where, well, they only qualify for 3 of 10 and they shouldn't be allowed. That's not the case. So I've seen quite a few people post on whether it was Reddit or elsewhere that say these types of things about what criteria. The criteria is established for a lot of different things. It's not necessarily about who has the highest salary or the most noteworthy work. Sometimes it's more about the body of work that you've done over the years. So it's pretty broad. When you're adjudicating the case, you have to have knowledge of the background. We're going to look at the application. We are going to look at the evidence. We're going to look at your membership. We're going to investigate your background, your taxes. We want to know exactly why you want to come here. Do you have a sponsor or you don't have a sponsor? Are you in an emerging field or not? This world is changing daily with new technology and new ideas coming out, and it's real easy for people to become experts in a field without any oversight per se. So it takes time to go through an application and make sure that we are seeing the consistency and the membership and the affiliations that are necessary to help people get into this country.
Wonderful. Tom, there is another aspect. I'm going to hold this as a thought and I will ask you first. Other question is about the people do a lot of concoctions, people do a lot of unethical things to showcase their expertise. What USCIS is going to do about it is one part. You have gone through next league programs, documentations, you have seen our recognitions, what we have, the accolades, what we have achieved. How would, from a USCIS perspective, you would look at the next league program at this stage in terms of the coaching that we do and the talent we're trying to bring in?
When I looked at the coaching aspect of the program, that to me was a very important aspect. It's not like you're an attorney, you're not a preparer, because there are a lot of unethical preparers and people involved in immigration services for the US, and they provide false documents and they give misleading information. When I reviewed Next League's program, this is not about misleading information. It's saying, hey, this is what you need to do to obtain solid information that you need for your EB1A visa. The coaching means, well, what affiliations do you have right now? If you're in the medical field, what medical associations are you involved with? And it's not like you need to be on all the top ones worldwide or globally. There are a lot of smaller affiliations or membership associations a person can belong to. If those associations are legitimate under government of their home country, then they can certainly be applicable. We look for those things when it comes to coaching. And if you're on the ground floor, what is the next step up? And that's what coaching does. That's mentorship. And there are just a lot of different organizations out there. And what Next League program is trying to do is coach people up to those next level programming. So you're looking at these different types of programs that you can get coached up to. And that is a huge bonus. A lot of people say, well, you need to do this, you need to do that. No, coaching up means that we're going to help you get through this. We're going to have discussions. We're going to walk you through what you need to do. And you're also working with other peers, people who want to become U.S. citizens under the EB1A program. And therefore, you're not like walking this path alone. You develop professional alliances, professional colleagues that are trying to do exactly what program is developing. To me, that is more important, to have mentors alongside you than someone saying, well, you need to do this, you need to do that, and you don't have a roadmap.
Thank you very much for kind words. And we always tell people that EB1A is a journey wherein we put you on a success path where EB1A will become a milestone for you. It is not an end itself. And another aspect, we also tell them that EB1A, they call it extraordinary ability green card, but it's an extraordinary opportunity to become the best version of yourself. That's the whole ethos of the whole program. And in the benefit, you get a green card and the US gets the best talent, and we nurture talent. At the same time, Tom, there are some issues which are very concerning when it comes to immigration and green cards, and especially EB1A green card. If somebody is doing things for you, you are not doing anything. Somebody does things for you and you are not the person what EB1A warrants, but you are mirroring a false image of yourself. There are a lot of people, they try to showcase themselves what they might not be. For example, buying patents, ghostwriting articles, trying to buy awards, buying media. Now, how would that impact immigration, and how would USCIS look at these aspects?
USCIS approaches every document and they look for consistency. They want to know who is doing what you're doing and who you're doing it with. If you're providing misleading or false information, is one of the worst things you could do, because that brings into question a good moral character. And in some cases, it could be a peer review that you've done, or a peer review someone's done on you, and they go to check in their resources who this person is or the peer review that you've done. And if they can't find it, they're going to call you in for an interview. And if you can't satisfy their question, it's the EB1A is not going to be possible. And they will deny your application. First of all, USCIS has a fraud detection department. In every field office, at every service center, there are people working, looking at fraud. Each region has their own law offices that are constantly inspecting the legitimacy, any preparer, attorney, or other types of services. So if a person is submitting incorrect information of any sort, USCIS will find out. And if they are unsure, if there is suspect of fraud, it goes to the fraud department. And trust me, they have their people out in the field daily, talk to applicants, talking to the people who are providing services. And let's say it's a medical doctor, we required medical paperwork on the I-693. And are these people legit? If they're not, if the service is not being noted a civil surgeon's website, then there's a lot of questions. And then get into whether an application is legitimate and there's false information, it's denied.
This is all fraud.
And worst case, if it is deemed fraudulent, they're going to come back to you, and then people will get put into removal and deportation proceedings. And you will have to be forced to go back to the country you came from.
Wonderful. And I think people need to understand that when it comes to immigration, it assumes that you are doing things ethically. We have also seen a trend that USCIS has been doing a lot of petitions getting revoked, even after approval, even at the time of naturalization. If something that was submitted in a fraudulent manner, this would also happen. Now, in EB1A, we have seen certain cases in national interest waivers And in a couple of cases, people getting their extraordinary ability green card getting revoked. Is there a time frame that USCIS has to revoke a green card if something has been found fraudulently? Does it have a statute of limitations, essentially?
Once a person gets naturalized, unless there is overwhelming evidence that they committed fraud, they will always be subject to things. Most cases, it's not. It's a very small percentage of people who have been caught that may have been involved in some sort of coup in their home country, that they were professionals and they came over here, started working, got naturalized, and all of a sudden it gets reported by someone, oh, that person used to serve in this guerrilla army as a doctor or something like that. Very rarely do you see people who are naturalized get unnaturalized and deported. It's very rare. However, when it comes to the most scrutinizing part, and that's when you apply for the EB1A and you provide all that information, it's always best to be upfront, as honest as on everything that you're putting into your application, your evidence. At any time, they can pull a green card if they suspect it. And giving some of the recent trends in work visas and student visas that just happened recently here in the US at a couple of universities, if the current administration doesn't like what you're doing or protesting, they will remove you from the country. So it's best to be very mindful of what this current administration can do. And I think anybody who wants this EB1A program wants to be the EB1A green card and eventually become a naturalized citizen. It is important to understand the current U.S. administration, the policies and laws that are being directed at immigration.
Absolutely. One of the most important aspects in EB1A is national interest. How would USCIS measure the relevance of national interest in the case of EB1A applications?
The whole idea about EB1A and green cards in general is you're working to the goal to become a naturalized citizen. So therefore, you should be paying attention to what natural interests are going on, what the current administration's doing, or Congress or the judicial branch. Be aware, understand the laws, and be aware. And if you don't understand the legal aspect, you can go back to the next league program is all about. You get that coaching to help you better understand these dynamics, because they will bring in people who are legal experts or policy experts that can help guide you on what you need to do, what you should be following, and why you should be following it. Because the ultimate goal with any green card should be to become a U.S. citizen through naturalization and have the ability to vote and elect your representatives, whether it's state, local, or federal government. It's a very important aspect. And that was a very good question, by the way, because it's not talked enough in a lot of circles. It's not talked enough with preparers or immigration attorneys. These are the things that you're not going to get to understand unless you have a professional coach on your side that is going to help coach you up to these understandings.
Absolutely. Tom, there is another concern also that there are a lot of people who are under the grab of mentoring or coaching or consultancy are doing things for the candidates and trying to push them or trying to concoct them into making believe USCIS that they are extraordinary. For example, I go to a particular person and that person is writing articles for me, is buying patents for me, which I have no contributions, ghostwriting articles, then buying awards. On paper, everything may look very good, but in reality, the truth is far from cry that I have not done anything. I have paid $20,000, $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 just to create an image of myself which is not true. And there are a lot of so-called consultancies and coaches or under the mentoring is emerging in EB1A. How would you and USCIS would look at this according to you?
I don't advise doing that. The USCIS has this fraud department that if there's any question about any credentials out there, and if they are not familiar with just adjudicators, or if the adjudicators do start doing a minor investigation, they will pass it on to USCIS fraud departments and they're going to start investigating, and they will pretty much get to the truth of the matter is that services were paid for that real. If a person is spending $20,000 for fake credentials, they could be using that money much more wisely and go down a more professional path. Professional people should not have to create their own documents or buy their own documents to get where they need to be. Their background demonstrates that they have the ability to learn and how to handle these things. If a person is resorting to fraudulent documentation, then they are asking for trouble. And in most cases, they're going to be deported. They will be put in proceedings and deported. And they will be asked nicely to leave. And if not, like this current administration has already been shown they can do, they will forcefully remove you.
Yeah. So I think the message for all EB1A aspirants is very clear. Don't do anything that could jeopardize your positions. And that's what we tell people in the Next League program, that become the best version of yourself. And this is a golden opportunity for you, and do well for yourself, do well for your family, and do well for the nation. And in the process, you will get your EB1A green card also.
They are looking to see the same information time after time after time. They are going to look at your evidence to make sure that it is collaborating. So we're looking at your birth certificate, we're looking at your marriage certificate, we're looking at your children's birth certificate. We are going through across the board, and we're looking for those minute details. So what happens if you provide illegal or fraudulent type documents to USCIS? Plain and simple, it will go through their fraud department, and if it is found that documents have been tampered with, fraudulent, misleading, they are going to refer you to ICE, Immigration Enforcement Agency, and you're going to start going through a removal and deportation proceedings. And you will be asked to leave the country in a nice way, and depending upon the gravity of the situation, maybe in a not such a nice way.
Wonderful. So I think it's a message for everybody that do ethical things, do proper things, do well for yourself and the family. EB1A is an extraordinary opportunity for everyone to become the best version of yourself and contributing to this great nation and American society. I think that's the whole goal and purpose of EB1A, and one should stick to that. Now, Tom, a bit sensitive question here. Would you like to speak about a recent immigration trends in the current political environment in general, and how do you see the impact on EB1A adjudications in particular?
EB1A will go through some adjustments in how things are proceeding. The gravity of the situation is going to change, but the administration has put a firm foot down what expectations are required. They want nothing but the most upstanding people in this country who are going to benefit the country itself. If you are a professional and you are coming to this country and you're bringing your family with you, your spouse, your children, those are the most important people who are going to be affected if you decide not to follow the rules. And the directions are pretty forthright.
Absolutely. That's what we try to do here in the best of our ability. I remember, Tom, during our last conversation, you mentioned that as EB1A adjudicator, you have been looking for certain things. Is the consistency of evidence across all criteria and supporting documentation. Would you like to elaborate on that?
When you're completing your I-4085, I-130, or even your N-400, whatever service you're looking for to get a green card or be admitted into the country or be naturalized, we look for consistency in everything you're doing. And it takes time, even on an electronic basis, digital basis, it takes time to go through all these because you can never have too much documentation. If there's too little, then we're going to request evidence or request for evidence. And if it's still not satisfied, we may have to probably call you in for an interview, and we're going to discuss these matters. And if you do not show a consistency responding in a proper time frame, you're jeopardizing your green card and your ability to be in the country. So it's very important that you stay up to date on everything that is being asked of you, this consistency. One thing we haven't really touched about as a criminal background. And criminal background, it literally means if you do have some things in the background, you got in a traffic accident or property damage, it doesn't necessarily mean you're going to not be able to get your green card. But if you don't tell us and we find out, it prolongs the process. And then we
Absolutely.
have to make a decision why you didn't tell us up front. And this is why you need a coaching service like Next League program or the advice of attorney or a preparer who are going to say, if you got anything in your background, it's better to put it down than not put it down.
Absolutely. So this is about the consistency in the documentation. And when it comes to EB1A extraordinary ability, you also mentioned about potential conflict of interest in the recommendation letters or affiliations. How would you see that in EB1A?
Conflict of interest. Well, conflict can be contentious at times. And how contentious is really the subject matter on this. We can always agree to disagree. If you're not willing to change how you do and conform to the American society, American laws, then there's that conflict of interest will keep you out of this country. And you have to be very, very aware, whatever profession that you're in, what are the laws? Because we're not only talking about scientific field, we're talking about people in the arts. We're talking about professional athletes, we're talking about movie stars, authors across the board. So we look at those high level professionals. Are you bringing to the country those things that embody the American way of life?
Absolutely. So first we mentioned about consistency. The second is about the potential conflict of interest. Third, you mentioned about credible institutional support backing the petitioner's claim. How do you see that? What do you look for?
Well, I have a lot of background in academia with my education and the things I've done through my education. And when an accredited institution backs you, that is a big blessing. That is the ideal epitome of a professional recommendation. And we're going to talk not only what USCIS is looking for, but any potential employer in the US is going to look for those accreditations as well. So if an applicant comes into the country and they don't have a sponsor, those accreditations and those words, what you have accomplished, if you got professional associations, whether they're from your home country or regional, these are very, very important in establishing a basis for application. And we are going to look for those things because let's face it, everybody's doing business on a global scale today. And when you look at accreditations from other countries, USCIS in the United States is going to look for how can you help us with your professional skills? And this is all comes back. What are you bringing to the American way of life? Are you willing to do whatever it takes to become part of the norm and make our country a better place to live? USCIS has a database of all organizations associated with immigration services, whether they're attorneys, preparers, or other type services or coaching services. They have already gone through and they have a database and they have already approved these organizations to fulfill a crucial role in EB1A candidates in immigration in general, but also there are professional organizations that continually not only provide excellent services, but they continue to vet themselves, making sure that they're using the best practices and they understand the changing aspects of immigration services in the United States. Because if an organization isn't willing to change the way they do business and how they attract or sponsor clients, then their clients are going to get stuck and they're going to struggle. And then when it comes to their application, it's going to show up in their application. You really have to take a strong philosophical approach on how you want your applications prepared, who you want coaching you, what programs do you need more help with. You can be great at a bunch of stuff, but there's that one if you're stuck, you're going to need that coach or you're going to need that attorney. So when we're talking about professional services like Next League program, there is a vital role in the success of the people they have worked with. And there's a reason for it because they continue to use best practices. And when you're an adjudicator like I was, and you see the same attorneys, the same preparers showing up, and that they're the ones doing the work. They understand the changes that are being made, and they're still able to come in and represent their clients at a very, very high level. And when you need coaching, and I think Next League program is providing something that goes beyond, as I believe I mentioned earlier, any preparer or any attorney. They can be a sponsor. They have the ability with some of their people in their network to find sponsors. This is a high level performance from a company that is looking to bring an applicant's high achieving level of success into this country to even be more successful. And we consider Next League program an expert and maybe even cutting edge in their approach to the EB1A process.
I'm humbled by this statement, Tom, that USCIS is seeing Next League as cutting edge and the work that we are doing. Yes, we have also sponsored some of the students, and thank you very much. We are very grateful to USCIS for such a honorable mention. So, Tom, you mentioned about Next League being a cutting edge in the EB1A jurisprudence and adjudication, the way we are trying to do things. So, this begs another question here: that how would USCIS look at objectivity of the questions in terms of how objective the whole evidence is, how as an adjudicator you would look at it?
So when I was with USCIS and I'm looking at documents, I'm looking at more than one set of documents. I may be looking at 20 different documents, one section of an application. It's like putting a puzzle together. You're piecing everything together and you're trying to draw a picture and a conclusion. When we talk about cutting edge, are preparers working harder or smarter? And sometimes smarter is the harder. So when I look at the Next League program and the tools that they're using, such as AI, that helps a lot in preparing documents. It helps a lot to understand the policies that govern immigration in the US. This is very important because what AI is taking a lot of work, a lot of different law firms or academic institutions, and they're able to get this plethora of information to provide guidance. Artificial intelligence is here to stay. How it's used is very, very important. So AI is not only important when it comes to an application, but AI is also important as a sponsor to be able to work with people. AI is good to a certain point, but if you're only working with a coaching system that's relying on AI for all the answers, that doesn't work. You need a person with experience that is an experienced coach and realizes, well, we want the genuine you, the authentic you to come out through your whole documentation and application to be an EB1A green card holder. That's what USCIS looks for, especially on high level cases. This is not proverbial cookie cutter approach. This is a customized approach to helping people get their EB1A green card. We want to talk more about how AI helps with objectivity for an adjudicator. An adjudicator is not someone who's a jack of all trades and understands a lot of different background when it comes to the various professional fields, whether they're medical or information technology or even artificial intelligence itself. The approach of being objective and reviewing every application objectively until you hit that red flag or that unanswered question that changes that objectivity to more of a subjective type of review. Because if there is something that catches a red flag, now the questions are, why didn't they answer this question? When we did our background report, this showed up, but it's not on the application. How do you make something like that more objective? You could have a great application, and then all of a sudden you get that stuck. AI can be help with that objectivity. If there's some sort of red flag, AI can help with that objectivity to overcome a subjective point of view. It helps answers the questions. And sometimes one of the biggest things I see in the application errors are things that get lost in translation. And I don't think we talked too much earlier about misunderstanding the U.S. legal standards or USCIS policy and evidence standards and what's included in evidence, what's not included in evidence. Misunderstanding over cultural gaps causes a lot of problems. AI can help overcome those types of translation barriers. It's being used already with translation of foreign documents. A person may not understand the legal system or legal standards or USCIS policy. AI helps alleviate some of that. And the Next Level program has incorporated that into their coaching. Right?
Absolutely.
They're saying, we're going to help you understand. They're going to review your application and say, well, this doesn't make sense when it comes to what your EB1A green card. Let's work making this better, making it so you understand. And if you understand, then an adjudicator is going to understand. It's your job to understand. You have to come into this country and know English language. USCIS is not here to be an interpreter. It's your job to be able to understand English and the most important terms and policies that go along with an application. AI makes that a lot easier, an awful lot easier. And a lot of people don't use these tools, but a coaching service, such as the program, has already thought that through. And this is how they make it simpler. And then you also get into a group chat setting where you can share other knowledge that you got from your coach at Next League program or personal research that you've done. And in that, in turn, you're helping someone else and building your network.
Absolutely, sir.
One thing that people don't understand about applications and for EB1A or any I-485 or any application in general is what USCIS asks for. And you will hear this terminology called preponderance of evidence. Well, what is preponderance of evidence? Statistically, it's 51 to 49%, which means there's enough evidence to say, yes, it doesn't have to be 75-25. It's just saying it has to be better than 50%. If it's 50%, it's borderline. And then you're getting an adjudicator hemming and hawing about whether or not to go to the next phase of the application process. Preponderance makes it a little bit easier. We're saying that, okay, we can see the plausibility in this, and we're going to give you the benefit of the doubt on it. And therefore, preponderance doesn't necessarily mean overwhelming evidence. It just means that there's enough there to move forward. If there is a discrepancy, it drastically changes to more of a scrutinizing process, more questions are asked, and then that request for evidence has to be satisfied at a much higher level. And when you're talking getting anywhere up to almost 100% authentication of the evidence being asked. So if an application is filled out correctly and you're coached properly and you're prepared correctly, the preponderance of evidence will just naturally show up. If you're missing something, if something brings a red flag or requires more questions being asked, it changes the dynamic. If the request for evidence that they ask you to provide additional information is not met 100%, it can change everything. So this is what Next League program calls their statistical model theory. So they're looking at statistics that are provided, and these statistics are out there that they can find. USCIS puts out information as well, and patterns can be developed on what's working and what's not working. So if you look at success rates, you look at Next League program success rate, their statistical model theory is proven.
Absolutely.
not many athletes, let's say baseball player, not every baseball player hits 300. Not every basketball player makes every one of their shots, but the next league program is operating is way above that. You're looking at the 100% rate or very close to it.
Absolutely. It's a 97.5. Yeah.
Yeah. You're operating at a level that high. The game has been made very easy because of the use of new technology and a different way of thinking the immigration process.
Absolutely. We want people to do things in a very ethical way, as I mentioned to you. That has been our goal. And the fifth point is something that how would USCIS measure the prospective work from a petition's perspective? That's what you mentioned is the fifth point. So I just repeat all the points. The first we spoke about is consistency. Second, we spoke about is the conflict of interest. Third, we spoke about is institutional support. The fourth we spoke about is the documentation, verifiable and objectivity. And the last is that how would USCIS look at the petitioner's work benefiting the USA going down the line?
Well, how does USCIS look at a petitioner's work going down the line? The USCIS hopes that that petitioner will continue to do what they've been doing to be here in the first place. They're not asking you to do more than above and beyond. They would hope that if you're working this hard to get here, that you continue working that hard to make this country better. This is not rocket scientists. Once the USCIS approves an EB1A, they want you continuing to do what you're doing and you continuing contribution to society. And after naturalization, unless something drastically happens that's negatively impacts, you go and live the American dream that you wanted to live. So it's not like USCIS is looking for this growth. They're expecting you to continue what you were doing that got you here in the first place.
Absolutely. I think that's a wonderful thing. And before we conclude, Tom, what is your message to all the people who want to become extraordinary by applying for EB1A green card and want to fulfill their American dream?
I look forward to meeting you here. There's a very wonderful professional community that can benefit from your expertise. There are people that you can help, and you can live the dream that we all dream of. This American dream is very much alive. EB1A is the ticket to that dream. Getting the correct type of professional help to get through the EB1A process is crucial. Your dreams are worth that investment. There's a lot of great jobs here for a lot of professionals across the board. This country is on the 1986 Statue of Liberty coin. On the back, it says, "We are a nation of immigrants. You are welcomed here. Please bring your professionalism to America and make it what it's supposed to be."
Thank you very much, Tom, for your wonderful accolades to the Next League program. And I'm sure this would be very inspiring, and it's a ratification of the good work that what we are trying to do for the nation. It's a great honor and privilege to have you, Tom.
We will forge a society that is colorblind and merit-based.
Celebrating our EB1A achievers, a legacy of excellence. We celebrate the incredible success of our EB1A achievers, whose unmatched talent and dedication have set new standards of excellence. We honor 45-plus trailblazers from the Next League program, whose contributions inspire communities and strengthen the nation. Below are the inspiring profiles of these extraordinary individuals as of March 31st, 2025. Let us applaud their remarkable journeys and the impact they are making on the world. Some of the profiles follows.
Thank you for joining us today. If you have any further questions or need personalized guidance, please reach out to us. We are here to help you every step of the way in your journey towards achieving your American dream. Let's connect and make it happen together.